It's the language actually of love. من القلب أبدأ وبكل فخر بوطن يكتب فيه كل يوم قصة نجاح جديدة من هالأرض للعالم. Chef Jason, we're so happy to have you here.
Happy to be back.
A two Michelin-Star chef and lots of restaurants around the world.
Absolutely, yeah. Busy man. Lots of cooking.
Good busy man. Chef, I believe you and me here crossing paths under this umbrella is just a proof that really tourism is a connection. Tourism connects all the cultures together. And lucky us, we're connected by love, by the love language of food.
Absolutely. I think food's a really important medium because I always say, look, it doesn't matter, whether you're rich, poor, or not. You eat 3 times a day normally, and families gather around a table. People do dinners together. People do banquets. People do weddings. It's always based around some form of medium of food. And for us to be able to do that through our job and to be able to travel the world and cook in different destinations like Saudi, and so forth, to be able to understand local culture and what that means for tourism. I think it's a really important role we play in spreading the love of culture through food.
And it's so nice that food, it is culture and it shows the hospitality side of the culture itself. It shows, because as chefs, we're givers, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then to sit down and to eat with this culture, seeing what they eat, the spices, how do they eat, it's so interesting to go from a culture to another and to enjoy this.
You can't. To open a restaurant in a different country from where you're from, our job always is that when we arrive in that country, we try to meet as many local chefs as possible, to try and meet local artisans, farmers, go to the markets, share meals with local people, to understand their flavors, to understand flavor profiles, what kind of meats they enjoy, what kind of fish, what kind of vegetables are grown. Because we also have to, if we're setting up a restaurant, perfect example, we have a restaurant in Alula called Mariah Social. One of the biggest challenges we faced was to have a consistent supply chain, what we could take to Alula, right? So when we arrived, we went to meet a lot of the local growers, a lot of the farmers, went to a few of the markets, and then understood, okay, this is what we can get locally. Now we have to pad that out with stuff, what we were bringing up from Jeddah, where we were using the fish markets. We were talking to a lot of local chefs. The seasons, winter, summer, what's growing, how is it growing? Because if we just go around the world importing ingredients in from everywhere, it doesn't work. Because our job is to sustain that local tourism. It's not just to come and open a restaurant.
And as you said earlier, when we were having a discussion, that you like to leave your own footprints, right? So you won't leave your own personality in food if you don't actually go and do all this research using their ingredients. I guess this is the way you can just upscale what you're doing and show it in a different way.
Yeah, and also, now I'm getting older, it's important for me, the legacy, what's left. As a traveling chef, I'm very fortunate. I get to travel the world through food. And, we have restaurants in the Philippines, we have restaurants in China, Saudi, Dubai, and of course London and Switzerland and other places. But now we want to make sure that the footprint we leave is nurturing the next generation. So we're working with a lot of colleges, a lot of schools, a lot of young chefs, and restaurateurs and front of house, bar sommeliers, to create that next talent pool, what tourism can feed off, to make sure that when they're investing all this money to make tourism boom, that they have the right staff to serve the guests.
Around the world, destinations are increasingly using food to tell their stories. It's all about the story. What makes gastronomy such a powerful way to bring places to life for travelers?
Well, the research, what we've done, and the data, what we have, high up on the list of people choosing a destination is culinary based. A lot of people now want to go on holiday. One of the first questions they'll ask about the hotel or the resort or just the city in general is the food good? If people don't know about that particular city, the first question I ask is, where do I eat? I mean, if I had £10 for every time someone asked me for a list of restaurants for a different city,
I think you should start to do that.
I should retire already. But it's everybody now wants to know where good food is, and not just Michelin food. We're talking street food.
Yeah, it all starts from the street food.
Absolutely.
Right? This is how you get to understand, like the street food, the spice market. I believe, like normal humans, when they travel, whatever they do, they start with is they go and understand the culture through food, right? And let alone chefs. What inspires you once you arrive to another destination, you will go and visit their spice market, their fruit market, their fish market, and then all the imagination, all the creativity, all the innovation will start.
Yeah, absolutely. When you do the research for food, it tells you a lot about the history of the country, and it tells you a lot about the struggles, the farmers, what they face, how they grow, how they, these are the untold stories of our industry, right? And I get to do the glamorous part. I get to cook beautiful food in beautiful restaurants where people come and say, wow, this is great. I love it. You've made so many memories. This is beautiful. But if we don't have the product, it all starts with the product. This is the most crucial key to the survival of gastronomy of any country. If you do not have the farmers doing their job every day, getting up, like in the UK, it's cold, it's snowing, it's raining, it's windy. They get out of bed to nurture the cattle, to milk the cow, to make the cheese, and all of this stuff, what comes into our kitchens every day, fresh, is vital to the existence of gastronomy.
We've often said you're literally obsessed with ingredients. How has the passion shaped your creativity process and menus?
Yeah, I'm all product driven. Product for me is the key. I became a chef not to be famous, not to even own a restaurant. I never dreamed of owning a restaurant. I became a chef to be a chef. I always say this, that I was born a chef, I'll die a chef. Every day I wake up, I put my chef's jacket on, I go to work, I take my children to school, and I go to the kitchen and I just get stuck into my food. I live and breathe ingredients, because if you can help make that shift, if you can help farmers be better, if you can help the system, like here in the kingdom, the future of gastronomy is very much going to be driven on the product. Chefs like me the first thing we do is we want to work with local chefs, not other famous chefs. We want to work with local chefs to understand the product.
What do you mean? You don't want to work with me?
Yes, of course I want to work with you. That's why I'm working now.
What is your favorite Saudi ingredient, though?
Gosh, I love, today I'm going to show you a dish with local red sea bream. I like the local fish. I like working with, the citrus in alula it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. I'm working with a very unusual, it's like a cross between an orange and a lime. I don't know the local name for it, but it's absolutely delicious. I'm making a ceviche with that today, with the local sea bream, for one of the dishes. So, of course, your abundance, and I never, until I came to cook in the kingdom, I didn't know exactly how many dates there was. I mean, one of the big things I say to people back home, and certainly to journalists, is the amount of available ingredients what are grown here is quite phenomenal, which I didn't realize until I started cooking here.
So let's get into cooking?
Absolutely.
Yalla.
Some of the most adventurous events I've ever done in the world, in my opinion, have been here in Saudi. I've been very lucky to have cooked in the desert for like 400 or 500 people. I've cooked on an island, Sandala Island, for 200 people. And what's always very impressive here is that I get to do things what I wouldn't normally do back home. And here I am cooking in a sky kitchen.
Well, welcome to Saudi Arabia, full of surprises and full of big dreams come true as well.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to cook for you today is I wanted to use some local seafood. So what I've got here is a hamra, which is a local red sea bream, which I've prepared. And I've aged it for a couple of days. to get a nice flavor and texture on it. And I'm simply going to fillet that. But the reason why I want to do 2 dishes is I want to show you how, through the mind of a Michelin chef, how we would look at local ingredients. So I would look at that and go, okay, you know, I want to try and use as much local products as possible. So everything here, what I'm using today is from here.
Wow.
Apart from the ginger and the caviar.
It's okay. We forgive you.
But everything else has been made here. I produced it all in the last couple of days. And I wanted to show you that how we do one European dish with the same fish. And then we're doing a ceviche, but we're doing that with pure local products. So what we do when we fillet it, we get 2 parts. So we get the top part, which is the nice thick fillet, which is more, which we're going to use for the European one. And then we've got the small belly part, which is full of fat. So it's got fat content in there. So that's perfect for ceviche. So all this is here is the fat part of the fish. Nice. So we're going to take our bowl. And all we're going to do is very quickly cure that. Super quick. So we take our chopped fish, we put it into our bowl, like
What
so.
inspired you to do this dish?
Purely because I wanted to show the diversity of a chef's mind. So I'm not going to cut, you know, if you came to my restaurant, you wouldn't want to eat Saudi food, right? Because you eat that at home. But for me, it's super interesting. So of course I want to cook it.
Yeah.
But for the guests, they're like, well, I eat that at home, right? So I come to a restaurant to eat your food. Yeah. So what my job is trying to use local products so what I can do is then support local farmers, I can support the local economy, but at the same time make it interesting for me to help my creative process, but at the same time make it super tasty and delicious for the guest, but something unusual. So local cucumber, we're just going to put that in. We've then got red onion, which we just diced this is super quick to do. In fact, to be honest, you can pretty much do this one at home.
So basically, whenever you have a dish in mind, what's always the story behind it, or how do you get inspired? How does it start?
So the process starts quite simply. It's like, okay, what is the style of the restaurant? How am I going to, this is onion juice, by the way. Okay. So all I've done is literally blend an onion, and I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of that in. So all I'll do for the restaurant is if it's going to be by the sea, you know, and my availability is predominantly shellfish and fish, I'll make it quite like we're doing a restaurant in Forte de Marmi in Easter time this year, our first restaurant in Italy. So that all I put in there is some citrus from Malula. In it goes like so, and a little bit of the juice.
Lovely.
Now I'm just going to give that a quick mix, quick season, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that for a few seconds while that marinades. Yeah. And then I'm going to answer your question. And then I'm going to put a bit of Lebanon in it. So then what we do is, obviously in Forte de Marmi, it's by the sea, right? I'm not going to go and cook pure Italian food because I'm not an Italian chef, although my chef's cuisine is Italian. So what we've done is, you know, I lived in Spain for a couple of years working for Fran Adria. So we're going to use an amalgamation of Mediterranean flavors, cooked with Italian spirit. So using all local products, all from the local markets, all the Amalfi lemons, the cheese, the Parmesan, the balsamic, all of that good stuff. But I'm not Italian. Yeah. You know, my name is Jason.
You don't have to be. We speak one language. It's passion, no?
Yeah, it's true.
So
it's true.
I guess this is enough.
So then we're just going to drain a little bit of that juice off because we don't want it to get too wet. Now it's marinated because this cooks. It cures the fish really quick. Now we take a good tablespoon of Lebanon. But what I've done with
I love Lebanon.
It's delicious. And then all I've done is infuse. All I've done with that is infuse garlic in there overnight.
But in general, what's your favorite ingredient? Saudi, Italian, Spanish? What is it?
Do you know what? It's difficult to say because I don't have favorite ingredients per se. Because if you have favorite ingredients, it's like you're sort of stuck with them. I just love really tasty, delicious food. You know, I mean, some chefs put a lot of emphasis on presentation. For me, if it's not delicious, it shouldn't be going on the plate. You know, it's super important I'm going to put a little bit of ginger in there, and I've got in there now some chives and some julienne of coriander, and then last but not least some local spring onion and just a little bit of chili, not too much.
I want to go back to the joke you made about the $10 you will take. You know,
My what? Sorry.
because you know what inspired me to become a chef? My dad. And
Oh, really?
basically,
Wow.
yeah, and basically, before we travel to any country, he would sit there and do his homework. He would go and see all the restaurants and where we have to go. So all our trip is planned ahead of time, and
Really?
he knows the restaurant that we'll have to go to, right? So imagine coming from a family. My mom is a great cook. My dad is a foodie who just travels the world to eat. So I guess really, really food, like if you want to travel, I guess food is the first thing that you think about.
Absolutely. You know, if you imagine going on vacation and not having your meals planned, and you go somewhere like Italy in the summer, a perfect example, or the south of France. So I'm just going to get that to that ice. So and then you go to the south of France in the summer, and you haven't got your. It's very difficult these days to get a reservation,
Yeah.
because restaurants have become the new, almost like the new nightlife, right? For the new generation of people going out, you know, restaurants. I mean, my daughters, you know, are now. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of them, right? One's 20, she doesn't want to leave home because she just goes to fabulous holidays and beautiful. Right, so in goes the ice, in goes our beautiful bowl.
Lovely.
We've got some avocado puree, which I made yesterday. So this is just avocados.
But let's say you will open your restaurant in Riyadh. What would
Yep.
it be?
What would it be? I would like to play a little bit on grilled food, Dream. So quite meat heavy with a little bit of seafood because it's landlocked. So I think I need to pay tribute to that, you know. Right, so I got beautiful,
Look at the ingredients. They look beautiful already.
right? And they're so vibrant in,
Yes.
in its color and I can tell you now, I can smell it. It's going to taste great, I think.
It will.
And so, yeah, so if I did a restaurant in Riyadh, I would like to pay homage to the local culture. Of course, I'm not going to cook Saudi food, but I will 100% cook with as much local ingredients as I can. But at the same time, I would want to make sure that, you know, I'm cooking food that people are familiar with,
Yeah.
that they enjoy, and that they can, but I also wouldn't want it to be too expensive because I'd like the restaurant to be a little bit more user-friendly. Right, so I'm going to pop in now my
Lovely.
lime. So this is going to go on there like so. So you can do that. And then these, I like these.
Yeah.
These Saudi crackers.
Yeah.
These are made from wheat. So I was looking to make some. These I didn't make. So I want you to try this and see what you think. So this is the finished dish. So this is our local Sebring. This is served with our wheat crackers. Can you help me pronounce that? They are,
Garsan.
yes, Gassan. So they're Gassan. And the idea is that you just take
But chef, don't worry. You know, even if you didn't make them, they were made with so much love.
Yes.
You've seen the women how they make it. It's unreal.
That's so delicious. Probably
Yeah.
one of the best crackers I've ever had. And so the idea is you squeeze a little bit of that on it and then you just pop it onto your crackers. I want to see what you think.
So maybe if your restaurant was in Riyadh, maybe this could be a meat dish with Garsan.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? Why not? Right, so
Sorry, اسمحوا لي آكل.
and then while you're tasting that, I'm going to get on with the next dish. So what we're going to do is pop in. This is going to cook really quick, because these fillets are not so big. So we're literally just going to. I've got salted water here, which I'm just going to very gently poach.
I love it.
It's good.
It's beautiful.
Good.
It's fresh. It's good. You can.
You think I can go on Top Chef?
Ah, chef, you're definitely coming. By the
think?
way, I mean, you're coming as our beautiful guest. No, really, it's so yummy. The fish is the fish is very fresh. I love the onion taste, the kick of spicy, and then the texture of the avocado with the gursan. Actually,
It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
So I'm
'Cause
gonna
it's
make sure I
crunchy,
don't
you know?
Boil this, so I don't want to ruin this dish. So this is a very delicate sauce. So this sauce I made yesterday. So all I've done here is a local cow. So I'm just very gently blanching it. I made a nice fish stock yesterday, and then I'm just blanching my kale in that. But I've also used the stalk, which a lot of chefs throw away, which I find are offensive, because in that stalk is lots of nutrients. And then what I've done, I've taken the head. I've made a beautiful fish stock with the head, and then a little bit of Lebanon, Timor pepper, and Kampot pepper. So I've made what's known officially in the UK as a peppercorn sauce. But instead of peppercorns, to finish the dish, what I've done
Caviar.
is we're just going to fold in caviar. So in goes the caviar, and that acts like the peppercorn, but the actual peppercorn is in the actual sauce.
But different in cost.
So then we just literally fold all that goodness in like so.
Yum.
This is on our restaurant in London at the moment, Row 15, our new Michelin-Starred restaurant, which we opened up on Savile Row just recently. So now we take our plate.
Here again, you're gathering cultures. This is the beautiful fish from here.
Yes.
This is the sauce you make in your restaurant. So again, we are back to the same point that food is the connection between worlds.
100%. So we're just going to take those off, place them on our board there, and then we're going to dress those up. Because I've taken the citrus when I arrived from Alula, and I made a yuzu koshu with it. And we're going to use that, which is quite unusual. I'm going to use that to season. So this is fermented citrus.
Yum.
So I'm going to use that to season the fish rather than salt. So that goes on like so. And then I'm just going to place here, I've got fermented cabbage. Fermented turnip, which I've just placed on. I'm going to place on my fish like so. And then I'm just going to get out my cabbage. Should be ready now. Yep, should be ready. And then this adds, I'm just going to trim it up a little bit.
Once you finish plating, I would really love to know the real story behind you becoming a chef.
Behind me becoming a chef?
Yeah.
Gosh, I come from very simple backgrounds. My background is my family were from the mining part of the UK, which in the 70s, when I was born, 71, was. So I'm just going to finish this. So on the cabbage is on top, and then so you can see this is very now European looking, right?
Yeah.
So this is like that. So very simple dish, but quite complex in its preparation. We're just going to have a little wipe on there. We talked about this earlier, I do have a little bit of OCD, so I can't give you that with that little dot there. Otherwise I'll never be able to fly home. So I'd like to try this dish, see what you think. Where's all my spoons? So there's a fresh spoon there. So as you can see, that's our second dish with the same fish. So we've taken the top fillet, we've simply poached it in fish stock and a little bit of sea salt. And then underneath is fermented turnip, blanched cabbage on top, and then the peppercorn sauce.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Does that get me through to the final of Top Chef? That's what I want to know.
I guess everyone should try your food as well. Haram. They're only here watching me eating. That's not nice.
But yeah, so I got into being a cook because my parents were separated when I was quite young, and my mum remarried, and she bought a small, what we call a guest house, and that had 6 bedrooms. And me and my sister, before we could go to school in the morning, would have to help mum cook breakfast. Very simple, just a traditional English breakfast. And then we would go to school. I loved it because I was only young and I could be close to mum. My sister was a teenager, so it was more of a bind for her because she wanted to be a teenager. But then when we came home from school, we'd have to do our homework, and then we'd have to help serve the evening meal to the guests. So it became in my blood. And then from the age of like about 12, I said to mum, I want to be a chef. And then at 16, I left the north to go to live in
And she was happy with the decision?
No, she was terrified.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
so she was worried about me living in a big city and being alone, but I moved into what we call a youth hostel with other young boys who were training to be chefs. And then I just fell in love with being a chef. And ever since then, I've worked extremely hard. Stay humble, work hard, learn your craft. And like you said, chefs are very generous people. So
Yeah.
my ethos in life is to give as much as possible, right?
And it's so beautiful that if you think about it, behind every great chef is his mother.
Absolutely.
And the second thing, the good ingredients.
Good ingredients and a good wife. My good partner. My wife is very supportive of the hours I have to work because, my schedule is pretty straightforward. I get up at 6, I go for a run, I take the children to school, and then I'm in the kitchens by 8:30, and then we leave about midnight, and then we start the whole thing again. But that's, if you have a passion for what you do and a passion for the craft, I think it's very important, you know?
And I'm sure if they get to eat this deliciousness food every day, I'm sure they're 100% so proud of you, as like all of us.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, look, I'm very fortunate to come backwards and forwards to the kingdom quite regularly, and get to experience this beautiful country. It's been very kind to me. You know, we've done some wonderful things here, and you know, I think there's a lot more to come. You know, it's very impressive what's happening here in the kingdom, and I think gastronomy has a massive role in that. You know, now, you know, we have Michelin just arrived, and the first Bib Gourmand's given out. I think this will help drive the next generation of young chefs to be more ambitious, to really hone in on ingredients, because Michelin is very good at spotting talent and promoting them. And I think that's really important for the kingdom, for the next generation of chefs coming through, and restaurateurs and so forth. I think that's really, really important.
Like I always say, this kingdom is the land of gold. Everything, this land turns everything into gold, either opportunities, restaurant, buildings, projects, whatever it is. So I'm so thankful that you feel this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure everyone else feels it. It's not only an opportunity for us as Saudis, it's an opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, the restaurant scene here is booming, right? There's a lot going on. In our restaurants in the summertime, we get well, all year round now, we get a lot of people traveling from the kingdom to come and sample our restaurants, and so they understand what we're doing already. So when we come here, it's our style of food is not so foreign to them. So it's amazing how the world's a big place, but it's also small.
Yeah.
You know, in the fact that we share a lot in common, but nothing more so than the medium of food, right? Because when you know, I went on holiday in the summer to Florence, and me and my family were seeking out the most famous affogato, which was at this small little place, and it wasn't open yet. So and there was what we later found out was a couple from Jeddah. We're also waiting in the queue, and we were chatting to them, and I said, oh, you know, where you're from? And they said, oh, we're from Jeddah. We're here for a few weeks looking around Italy. And I was like, oh, you know, this is, and they said, oh, you know, how do you know about the affogato place? I was like, I'm a Michelin-Starred chef from London. And they're like, oh my God, where? Da, da, da. So we had a whole 20-minute conversation about food and restaurants while we were waiting for the coffee shop to open. So it's that stuff to me is beautiful, you know? It's really beautiful, because without that conversation, right, what we do, you can connect, you know?
You can connect, and food is the easiest way to connect. It's the simplest language.
Absolutely.
So, and we're so lucky that we're in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel lucky that every day I wake up, I don't have a job, I have a life.
Yeah.
You know,
that's beautiful.
and that's if you can get to the end of your time in this place, and you realize that you've fulfilled your dreams, or you fulfilled your ambitions. Not many people get to do that, and I think we're very blessed that we get to do that in our job, that we get to wake up every day, and through food you can be, you know, you can be somebody, you know, you can actually make a difference, and not just make money and open restaurants, but I'm talking about you can nourish people, you create memories. You know, restaurants create memories for people. I had a restaurant many years ago called Maze, where I was Gordon Ramsay's executive chef before I set up on my own. And we had a restaurant together called Maze, what was super, super popular. It was 20 odd years ago, you know, and I still get people stopping me in the street in London going, oh my God, Maze was I had my 18th birthday there, I had this there, that there, and people remember this, you know.
100%.
You know, yeah, I think that's really important.
I can see the passion while you talking, you know. So basically, we're so blessed that, you know, people who discover themselves and what they love from early age, they're so blessed because they get to do every day what they love, you know. And doing what you love is actually the greatest way to success, right?
Absolutely. You know, and it's like me being here now, right? I'm here because of food, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to share my love of food. I'm here to talk about, you know, my experiences in the kingdom. You know, how it's enriched my life, how it can enrich other people's lives, and encourage even more chefs to come here and spread the word of love through food, to embrace local culture, to show the world how amazing Saudi Arabia is, and how the produce here is You know, there's still a mystique out there about, you know, the Middle Eastern product, right?
Yeah.
It's getting more and more famous now. You know, you're getting lots more local restaurants from the kingdom and other places opening up abroad and becoming fully booked and popular. So people are getting more and more used to it, and hopefully that we've played some small part of that, you know?
No, you would play a very big part. But I wanted to ask you about experience. What experience do you enjoy coming here? What did you do? From a culinary perspective, or
From a culinary perspective, I mean, the most important thing for me is meeting people, because if I have to understand how people think about food, you know, because just because I know what I do, right, doesn't mean I know what's done here, right?
the market is different everywhere.
Yeah, and even understanding Bedouin techniques, right? Like
But you went to the desert. You
yeah,
came
yeah, of
to
course,
the
yeah,
north.
and understanding the burying of, you know, the burying of a fire, you know, making the fire, burying it, putting the animals in there, covering it, and then understanding how long you leave it, what happens down there, why. Because to Bedouins it's normal culture, but to me it's completely foreign,
Yeah.
right? So it's all of that stuff for me is magic, right? I'm not necessarily going to use it in the restaurant, but it's the train of thought that fascinates me.
Yeah.
How do I create that flavor profile, but in something new, right? So when people taste it, they go, "Oh my goodness, that reminds me of, you know, X, Y, Z," right? So that you can create that magic through that, right?
And I believe this what makes food successful, when you just when you can relate to, when it's a nostalgic flavor, when you know,
Yes.
when you have this feeling. So, but when you finished from the Bedouin way of cooking, how did it inspire you? What did you do?
Oh, I mean, the most important thing for me was taking that away and going, okay, right, you know, just, it's not interesting for me to bring just a concept from London to Saudi Arabia, right? When we opened up Mariah Social, it had to be unique to Alula. We don't have another Mariah Social anywhere in the world. It's only in Alula, right? So we had to use as much local product as possible. I had to be inspired by local culture, local cuisine, but not cooking local cuisine, because that's not what people expect.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, how do I do that? Well, I do that through understanding local mindset, local flavors, and then imparting that into my recipes, what I know work, what I can then leave with the team, and spread the love through that.
Chef, thank you so much for this inspiration stories, and thank you for the beautiful food. It
Thank
was
you.
really delicious, and thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for sharing our passion, the passion of love, and the language that makes all of us connected.
Thank you.